Hey, this video was supposed to be a happy progress video of finally getting, I was going to first do a video on putting on the rear head and then putting on the, changing out the knock sensors and then putting in the oil cooler and then putting on the front head. And it was going to be an opportunity to test out this nifty gauge here, the torque angle gauge meter. Well, anyhow, as I was getting closer to doing this, I kept seeing more and more little postings in forums and such on the head bolt threads stripping out on these aluminum blocks. And so I kind of had that in the back of my mind, and well, guess what? It happened. And you'll get to see that. I'm going to go ahead and show the video. We're going to have the video as it was, as if, you know, none of this was going to happen, and then you'll see it happen. When I go to do the 120-degree pull, I get, I don't know, 75, 80 degrees, something like that in there, and all of a sudden you'll see the thing go zip, and well, that's it. Damage is done. And it happened on 6 of the bolts. The 7th, I was able to get a torque. It went as it was supposed to. I was able to pull 120 degrees on it. And I figured out, I used the torque wrench as a torque meter, and it's 100 pounds of torque at 100 degrees. But here's what I'm going to recommend you do. Just skip all of that. And I found the source. It's Sunday. I can't call them. I'll call them tomorrow. Southeast Cylinder Head down in Winter Park, Florida. Just put inserts in there. The very top long first part of the hole for the head bolts is unthreaded. I mean, the threads don't start till like way deep in there. So basically you're just putting a threaded insert in there, and I'm going to switch to a grade 8 head bolt and just torque them down. And you know, again, this was my first experience with torque to yield, so I was kind of excited and apprehensive about all this, and well, rightly so. So anyhow, let me grab the camera and we'll take a close-up at that, and then the rest of the video, well, we're just going to look down at the hole and the head bolt hole, and then we're going to go through the video just like we would have done this anyhow, and then you'll see the moment when this all of a sudden slips. So without further ado, let me grab the camera and take a look at this.
All right, so here we are, and you can see it is pretty deep before those threads start in the head. And again, I was surprised about all this because I came from aviation, and you know, everything's aluminum, but also everything has a steel threaded insert into it. You know, using a steel bolt into cast iron, I mean into aluminum, is kind of like a hot knife through butter. But so it is that deep, which turns out to be, see if I'm actually hand holding the camera here, it's just over 2, maybe 2¼ inches before the thread starts. So with the from what I can see online, and again, it's Sunday, so I'll have to call them tomorrow, you're going to put a threaded insert down into this unthreaded part, and then switch over to a grade 8 head bolt with a torque specification. You know, I don't know for sure. I haven't measured it right now, but you know, it kind of looks like it would be you know, 7/16 or so, something like that. I'm going to do a follow-up video on it. We're just going to do the process of tapping and putting in the inserts, and then putting on the heads with those. So let's get into the video as if none of this had happened, and we'll show torquing down and doing a pull, and then we'll see it was, you know, that was not the which one is number one? I think this number one here, bolt, and it just went whoosh. And that was the only one that it, you know, pulled with resistance as it should, all the way through 120, and I never did the 90-degree subsequent pull on it. So, again, let's get into the video. So let's pretend we have already put the heads back on, and that this wasn't in here, that our oil cooler was not there, that we were going to try and put the oil cooler in after we got the heads off. And the reason you might want to do that is because this is like just in the way when you would try to be torquing down the bolts on the back head. This is just sticking right up. So let's say you left it out, or let's say you even you had it slid over. Now that slid over that way easy, but remember, there is a gasket that goes up under here. There's an oval gasket that goes up under this end, and there's kind of a it's a rectangle and then kind of a triangular shaped gasket together on this end. And let's say you wanted to slide this in after the fact, that you just left it out and then you wanted to slide it in. Well, there is a pretty good chance that the gaskets, there is a locating pin, but these gaskets are, you know, they're up underneath. You can't see them. When you go to slide this in, there's a good chance they could slide out of place, even fall off, and you know, never even know it. I mean, this one might even, you know, fall off down into this cavity down here where the knock sensors are, and you'd never know it. And realistically, you'd probably have to take this, the air box out to be able to slide this, have enough space to come in low enough to slide this in. So what I'm going to suggest, because the other thing is these cables here are just they're difficult, and these are already got kind of wear marks in them from being in place for so long. Brand new ones are not going to do that, and they're just going to get in the way of, there's a little notch for them to come through. So what I suggest is putting on the rear head with this completely out, then coming in and dropping this in, then putting the front head on. So let me stop the camera and show that. Now mind you, right now these heads are just sitting here on the used original gaskets for protection. Okay, one last thing is I cleaned out all the head bolt holes with brake clean. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses and your respirator. Use a nozzle like this to clean them out, and when you do, be off to the side. Don't be like this. Always be at the end of the hose and have the hose a little bit above the hole when you blow each one out, and go through them a couple times. Make sure you get all that stuff out of there. So all that was done. Remember, we're wearing safety glasses and goggles, gloves, and you're not standing in front of the hose. So here is our right hand side. I don't know what is showing up, and I got my headlight on because it is dark now. This is the right hand head gasket.
So we're gonna put it on like that, because the back is the right hand, because normally this engine in a conventionally mounted would be like this, and that is the right side. It's always addressed from inside as the driver sees it. So that's right, this is left. All right, so we got the head gasket on, and now we're gonna lay the head down in there. Make sure you got your harnesses and everything out of the way. And there you go. And like I said, this is going to take a while to finish this project up. And man, it doesn't even take overnight. Make sure your holes are all plugged up, because like I said, otherwise it's a great mouse house. And before I get the whole thing back together, I'm going to end up changing power steering pump and hose. So I'm going to stop the camera for a moment and grab the head bolts. All right, so hopefully that's not washing out, but it is. These are Felpro. This is a complete set of head bolts for this engine. It's ES72366 from Felpro. You absolutely must use new bolts. So I'm gonna lightly coat these with oil. They are kind of pre-lubricated, but I'm gonna put a thin coating of oil on them, and I'm gonna make sure and get some oil in between the head of the bolt and the washer. And you will need a 12mm 1/2-inch drive socket, which is in my pocket with keys and everything else. So 12mm 1/2-inch drive socket, 12-point 12mm 1/2-inch drive socket. Lightly coat it with oil, and that's if using anybody else's bolts. From what I can find out, you Kia brand new original factory bolts, if you get them from the dealer, you do not have to lube them, but I doubt anyone's going to do that. You're going to use these. So light coating of oil, and then coating in between the washer and the head of the bolt, and I'll drop them in. Okay, this is the last head bolt going in. So I got a little bit of oil in a cap here, and you know, I'll get a little on my fingers and just turn it on the bolt here. Make sure it's lubricated up under this washer and such. And then drop it in. So I did that to all 8 bolts. Now I'm going to run them down, and you don't need to watch me do that. I'm just going to run them down by hand and snug them, and then we'll get done. We'll get into the first sequence of torquing, and I'll show you a little map I have for that. Okay, I'm running these bolts in, the head bolts in by hand. This is the last one, and I just wanted to show you something. Kind of do it like this. Hold the ratchet like this, or I even have a very short-handled 3/8, but you basically want to just, when it stops, okay, that's when you're holding it like this and it stops, that's when you stop, okay? Just hand tighten them. Here's the sequence. So let's make sure we can see that in the camera. It's dark out here, and it's been raining all day. It's super soggy out here, so the paper is almost like a wet noodle. But there is your sequence for the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to tighten them with the torque wrench to 30 foot-pounds once. We're going to go through again twice, because we're going to end up squishing that gasket. Then we're going to try this 120-degree pull with the torque angle gauge, and then a 90 degree. So I have never done this before, so I'm curious to see how this all turns out. So this is looking with the head down this way. Here's the front, and it's like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I'm going to go through and do the same thing again, because they will have loosened up some. So see, just kind of like that, okay? Pull on it like that. I hope that's showing up. All right. Just like that. And you might even hear a little crinkle crunch in the gasket as it compresses. So I'm going to be quiet, all right, and pull. All right, so that was like 1/8 of a turn. Let's do it again. And of course, as you go through them, like that's the 4th one. The first one's going to be super loose, but as you get closer to the last ones you did, they're not going to tighten down as much. So let me turn this off for a second and finish snugging these, and then we'll torque. Okay, for this last round of snugging with the ratchet, I have, let's do it like this. Hold it like this, and then just like that, and then stop, okay? So let's go. This one's not been done yet. Just trying to snug them. As soon as it stops, stop. Because if you start going too crazy on it, then you're going to actually start putting in uneven, unmeasured torque. So I'd say that's probably about 15 pounds of torque that I have on it. So now I'm going to put the torque wrench on. All right, set for, you probably will not be able to see this, but 30 foot-pounds of torque, which is 40.7 Newton meters. So we're going to go through this twice. We're going to go to 30 foot-pounds. Get out of the way here. Okay, so that's the first bolt, and I'm not going to show them all. All right, we're going to do the second one here. Okay, so just going to go through all of them. That was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going to pull them to 30 pounds 2 times. So I'm just going to do that off camera, and then we'll come back. Okay, just went through them 1 time, 1 through 8, 30 foot-pounds. So I just wanted to show on camera what it's like to go all the way back to the first one to pull it again to 30. So I'm going to be quiet as I pull. And you can see it went a pretty good distance. Let's see if we can measure loosely the degrees here. All right, so we'll call that 0 degrees. Mm, 45, about 45 degrees. You know what, I'm gonna do it with it like as straight as can be here. Almost straight. Okay, let's see what happens. That's 0. That one clicked right away. But again, like I said, we're getting, as we get deeper through the rotation, they are closer in snugness. See, that's only moving a maybe 10 degrees. All right, let me finish these up. Okay, just going to show, this is the this is step 2. So this is 30 pounds on the last bolt, and you'll see it'll barely move before it clicks. It clicks right away. But when you go through the first time and go back to that, then go back to the first one to do the second pull of 30 foot-pounds, it goes like 45 degrees. So, all right, now time to set up for the angle gauge, and we'll see what happens. Okay, how this is supposed to work is I've got this zeroed out, so you find a place to use this little stand to kind of grab onto it and hold it in place, and then you zero this out. I got my headlight on, so I'm trying to just get this in the right place where it's not casting a shadow. So it's at 0 right now. 120 is all the way down here. So let's see what happens. Okay, this is the number 1 head bolt on the right head, which is the firewall side head, getting ready to do the 120 degree pull for the first time ever. Let's see how this goes. It kind of slipped. I don't know if you saw that. I didn't like the way that felt, but you know, that's 120 degrees according to that, and it moved the whole time. So I'm gonna go through the rest and see how this goes. It's just gonna be too much with the camera in there, and see how that feels. Well, disaster has struck, and this is something, when I was researching the torque specs and such on this, I came across a few postings on the forums and whatever about Kia head bolt threads in the block stripping out. And well, guess what? When that when I was doing that first 120 degree pull, all of a sudden, I'd say it was probably around 70-75 degrees, all of a sudden the wrench just loosened up and just sailed right to 120. Did that pretty much on all of them, but you know, and it still felt like it had plenty of room to go. Like, you know, it was not over torquing or anything. So apparently it looks like there is a insert, you know, probably like a Heli Coil thing for this, and that's just gonna be another mess. But so I went back to this last one, you know, just kept pulling tighter and tighter and tighter, like I was kind of expecting it to do, like it should do. So I gradually went through like 10-pound increments on the torque wrench. And am I in the frame here? Yeah. Anyhow, it seems like a good 120 degree pull is about 100 foot-pounds of torque. So it won't click below that, and it clicks right at that, and then anything over it clicks. So using that as a torque meter, it must be about 100. foot-pounds. And again, remember, it was going to take another 90 degrees past that. So what's that in torque? Anyhow, gonna have to abandon this project for right now. I'm gonna take the head back off and look into these, if there's a kit for it. They're gonna have to be drilled out and helicoiled. So that's where we are right now. And when I came across that article today about the threads, it was like, oh boy, I hope not. And it's like, no, I'm doing everything right. Everything should be good. And I don't know, maybe these things are only meant to be put together one time. So anyhow, that's all for now, folks. So I'll have a follow-up to this. I would strongly suggest, I'm going to do some more research. I'll post more on this. And this engine, well, to me, it seems like a really good engine. There's not a whole lot of info about it out on the web. So, on YouTube or otherwise, a bunch of people rambling in forums. So anyhow, it'll look like it might be wise, if you're going to delve into this, to go ahead and probably helicoil, drill out these threads. So that's where we are right now, and I'll update you guys on this.